In life, strength is not merely the force we apply to the world, it is the energy we preserve within ourselves. Every day, millions of people accept weakness not because their bodies are incapable, but because they have forgotten the simple truths that govern vitality. We chase complicated answers while nature continues to offer us simple, powerful tools. If only we learn how to listen. Imagine this: in the temple, before dawn, we rise not with loud alarms, but with silence and awareness. Every movement, from breath to step, begins with intention, and just like our movements, our nourishment must also be intentional. There is a way to reclaim your power, not in weeks, not in months, but in hours. You do not need potions or pills. You need awareness, you need alignment, and yes, you need just one simple food. Because strength is not built only by effort. It is restored by wisdom, and that wisdom begins with what you choose to place into your body. Today, I will share with you one truth, one practice, that can help you regain the strength in your legs, not just physically, but with clarity of purpose and renewed determination. Let us begin. The body has a way of communicating far beyond the spoken word. It sends messages constantly, quietly, patiently. Yet in our modern rhythm of rushing, reacting, and ignoring the subtle, we often fail to hear it. Weakness in the body is never sudden. It builds over time, like a river slowly eroding stone, carving away at strength without fanfare or noise. Especially in the legs, the foundation of our movement and balance. The decline is often so gradual that we only notice when struggle replaces ease, when walking becomes effort, when stairs feel like mountains, when rising from a chair becomes a task rather than a reflex. But the body, long before these moments of struggle, had already begun to whisper. Those whispers may come as heaviness, as tightness, as stiffness in the joints or muscles. But instead of listening, we push through, we distract ourselves, we normalize fatigue, we tell ourselves we're just tired, just aging, just having a bad day. In reality, those were early warnings, signals that something within was being depleted, that the body's needs were not being met, that its systems were seeking nourishment, attention, restoration. The mistake is in thinking that strength only fades due to age or injury. Often, strength fades because awareness fades first. In the practice of the Shaolin tradition, every movement begins with inner awareness. The monk does not lift his leg without knowing why. He does not take a step without understanding the ground beneath him. This depth of attentiveness is not mystical, it is practical, it prevents injury, it preserves energy, and it allows the body to move as one unified, intelligent system. Weakness, when it arises, is not seen as failure. It is seen as feedback, a reminder that the connection between mind and body must be re-established. But this type of awareness is cultivated. It does not arise in a distracted mind, it grows in stillness. In practice, in listening, the legs carry the weight of our ambitions. Every goal we chase, every place we journey to, every burden we carry, our legs bear the load, and yet, how often do we truly care for them? Not just by stretching or exercising, but by deeply nourishing the systems that empower them. Blood flow, nerve communication, muscle fiber repair, all are processes that require the right support. If we are feeding the body empty energy, processed habits, thoughtless intake, we cannot expect strong output. The legs will reflect what they are given. Weakness is a mirror. It shows us what has been lacking, not only in diet, but in attention, in discipline, in care. Even a strong person can begin to weaken if they stop listening. Strength is not permanent. It must be maintained, rebuilt, respected. But the good news is that the body remembers. Just as it knows how to decline, it knows how to recover. With the right signals, it will begin to restore. With the right nutrients, it will rebuild. With the right attention, it will respond. But none of this can happen until we stop ignoring the signals. Until we treat weakness not as something to fear, but something to understand. There is a lesson in every ache. There is knowledge in every moment of effort. There is a message behind every step that feels heavier than it should. The body is not separate from who you are. It is the vessel through which you act, move, serve, express, grow. When you are tired, your body is asking for rest or restoration. When you are weak, your body is asking for alignment, for better inputs, for deeper care. It is not punishing you, it is guiding you, but guidance only works when we pay attention. In the silence of early morning practice, when the mind is still and the body is the only thing speaking, a great deal can be heard. The cracking of joints, the slowness of a stretch, the imbalance in weight distribution, all these are information. They are not signs of aging or decline. They are invitations, invitations to investigate, to correct, to support, to provide what is missing. The problem is not that the body sends no signals. The problem is that we are too distracted to interpret them. A tired leg after a short walk is not just about the leg. It is about circulation, hydration, micronutrients, and neurological signals. A weak step is not just about muscle. It is about the systems that sustain the muscle. And if any part of that system is neglected, be it blood, nerve, joint, or cell, the weakness becomes a warning. But that warning is not permanent. It is a request, and those who learn to respond early avoid the crisis later. This is why ancient disciplines emphasize connection to the self before any external achievement. Because a connected person notices the change in energy before the energy is gone. A connected person recognizes tension before it becomes pain. They sense weakness not as defeat, but as the start of a new discipline. In this way, strength becomes sustainable. It is not won once and held forever. It is renewed daily through awareness and action. The legs, when strong, give you freedom, but when they begin to fail, they are not betraying you. They are calling you back to attention, back to the root of strength, back to yourself. Food surrounds us in abundance, yet true nourishment is rare. In every supermarket, on every menu, there are endless choices, but very few of them bring us closer to vitality. Most people eat to feel full, not to feel alive. But the ancient wisdom teaches that food is not simply what fills the stomach. It is what fuels the spirit, sharpens the mind, and strengthens the body. When you begin to understand food as medicine, the entire act of eating transforms from habit to healing. Every bite becomes a decision, every meal a ritual of restoration. The body is not built merely by movement. It is built by what we give it to rebuild itself. Food is the foundation of all strength, and without the right foundation, even the strongest structures fall. In the Shaolin temple, food is selected with care and consumed with presence, not for pleasure alone, not for indulgence, but for purpose. Each ingredient carries energy, each herb offers a function. Nothing is added without thought, and nothing is consumed without gratitude. This philosophy teaches that food is not a passive act. It is a conscious exchange between nature and body, between intention and result. And when you begin to see food as your medicine, you no longer eat mindlessly. You eat to awaken. You eat to support function. You eat to heal. Weakness in the body is often first a reflection of weakness in nourishment. Muscles that cannot recover, joints that cannot hold balance, limbs that tire too easily, these are not just signs of physical disuse, but also nutritional neglect. The cells are not receiving what they need. The blood is not carrying the proper tools. The muscles are waiting for signals that never come, and those signals are often delivered not from the gym, but from the plate. A body built on processed, empty, overcooked, or artificial foods cannot express natural strength. It cannot respond quickly, it cannot recover fully, it struggles not because it lacks potential, but because it lacks support. There are certain foods that carry within them a unique intelligence. Nature has encoded them with properties that activate, that repair, that energize. These are not mysteries, they are known by those who study closely. In traditional systems of medicine, these foods are not just suggestions, they are prescriptions. They are given in exact forms to address exact deficiencies. And the results are not vague, they are powerful. When the right food enters the system at the right time, the body responds with surprising speed. Tired muscles regain tone, sluggish blood regains circulation. Nerves begin to fire again with clarity, and strength, once thought lost, begins to return. This is why eating should never be reduced to just satisfying hunger. Hunger is only the surface signal. Beneath that signal lies the deeper question. What is your body truly lacking? Is it iron to build blood, magnesium to ease muscle function, amino acids to rebuild tissue, omega oils to reduce inflammation, antioxidants to neutralize internal damage? The food you choose must be able to answer these questions. If it cannot, then eating becomes an act of delay, not of healing. You are quieting the symptom, but not solving the root. To eat as medicine means to see the body as a living, regenerating organism in constant dialogue with nature. Your cells rebuild themselves using what you give them. Your bones, your blood, your brain, they are not static. They are in a state of constant renewal, and that renewal depends entirely on the quality of what enters the system. When you eat with awareness, you begin to feel the difference. There is a lightness after the right meal. There is mental clarity. There is physical readiness. There is emotional stability, because the body has received something real, something it can use immediately. Not just calories, but nutrients. Not just flavor, but function. One food, when chosen wisely, can change the body's trajectory within hours. It can spark blood flow, reduce inflammation, awaken energy stores, and start the repair process in muscles that have been dormant. This is not superstition. It is biochemistry aligned with tradition. When science meets awareness, the results are immediate, but only if you are paying attention. If you eat with distraction, with stress, with speed, then even the most potent food loses power. The body cannot receive what the mind is ignoring, so the act of eating must be elevated. It must be treated as a moment of alignment, not just a task on the schedule. In the world of performance and recovery, what you consume can either delay healing or activate it. The food you put into your body today will influence how you walk, move, and think tomorrow. It is the most direct input you control. You cannot always control your environment or your age or your schedule. But you can control what you place on your plate, and when you begin to choose food with intention, you begin to build a body that responds with power, clarity, and resilience. You begin to replace exhaustion with endurance and weakness with recovery. Within nature exists a remarkable design. Certain foods carry with them more than just nutrients. They carry intelligence. This intelligence speaks the language of the body, unlocking processes that have gone dormant and activating functions we may have forgotten were there. Among these foods, some are uniquely powerful in their ability to awaken strength, especially in the legs, where mobility, balance, and power converge. The body does not require magic to restore itself. It requires the right signal. That signal often comes in the form of nutrition, a trigger that tells the body, it is time to repair, it is time to energize, it is time to rebuild. And one such food, when chosen wisely, has the capacity to reignite muscular regeneration and restore the energy flow where it is needed most. Every muscle is built from the inside out. What we see on the surface, tone, movement, strength, is only the end result of complex internal systems. These systems rely on communication between the nervous system and the muscle fibers, supported by a strong network of blood vessels, mineral balance, and fuel sources. When these components are working in harmony, strength is expressed naturally. But when just one of them begins to falter, weakness follows. Muscular regeneration does not start in the gym, it starts in the cell. And the cell responds most rapidly to the presence of specific nutrients, amino acids, and enzymes that are provided by food. There are certain compounds, like nitric oxide boosters, muscle, building amino acids such as leucine, and mitochondrial activators like coenzymes, Q10, that can dramatically accelerate recovery and performance when introduced correctly. One powerful food can supply these elements directly or stimulate their production internally. This is not theory, it is how the body is designed. When your legs feel heavy, when steps become slower, it is often not because you have aged overnight. It is because your cells are lacking fuel. The mitochondria, the energy, producing engines inside your muscle cells, have slowed down. The flow of oxygen and nutrients through the blood has become sluggish. The communication between brain and body is delayed. But when the right food enters the system, it begins to address all these problems simultaneously. Blood flow improves as vessels dilate, nerves fire more efficiently, and energy production returns to optimal levels. This is why monks and martial artists across centuries have used food not only as sustenance, but as preparation. Before intense training or recovery, they consume specific ingredients: ginseng, fermented black garlic, beets, turmeric, or sesame paste, not for taste, but for what they trigger in the body. These are foods that signal activation. They tell the body, it is time to move, time to circulate, time to restore what was weakened, and the beauty of the body is that it listens. Within hours of receiving the right input, circulation can increase, stiffness can reduce, and strength can begin to return. This is not because food acts like a drug. It is because food works with the natural wisdom of the body. The legs, in particular, respond strongly to these changes. As the largest muscle group in the body, the legs demand more oxygen, more nutrients, more regeneration than any other area. That is why when they begin to weaken, it affects everything: posture, movement, energy, even confidence. But they are also the most responsive. When given what they need, they recover quickly. They hold memory, not just of movement, but of strength. A single nutrient, dense, bioavailable food can begin the chain reaction that helps them remember. That food may contain compounds that promote circulation, support muscle protein synthesis, reduce inflammation, and replenish the mineral balance necessary for contraction and control. It may not look extraordinary, but the effect it produces is. Sometimes it is not about adding more exercises or pushing harder. It is about removing what blocks recovery and giving the body exactly what it has been waiting for. When this happens, leg strength can return not in weeks, but in a matter of hours. Not because the food itself is miraculous, but because the body is ready to respond as soon as the right conditions are met. Every system in the body is wired for healing, but healing requires activation, and that activation often begins with one small change, one food that carries within it the code the body has been missing. The concept is simple, yet overlooked. People search for complex answers in medicine, supplements, or routines, while ignoring the most direct path, the nourishment that enters their system each day. When you view food as a tool rather than a task, you begin to see the possibilities. You begin to understand that transformation is not about force, it's about alignment. Alignment between what your body needs and what you choose to give it. And when that alignment is achieved, even the most depleted systems can regenerate. The legs, long fatigued, begin to support again, steps become lighter, balance returns, and behind it all is a single food, a catalyst, not a cure, that reminds your body how to be strong again. Regaining leg strength is often mistaken for a miracle, when in reality it is the outcome of mindful, intentional action. In every process of transformation, the most powerful results emerge not from grand gestures, but from consistent and conscious decisions made moment by moment. The body is a system of feedback and response, and it rewards those who engage with it deliberately. Weakness in the legs, whether from age, injury, or neglect, is not a permanent sentence. It is a condition waiting for a new input. And when that input is guided by mindfulness, supported by knowledge, and executed with discipline, the body begins to respond in ways that seem extraordinary, yet are completely natural. Too often, people wait until the body fails completely before they begin to act. They wait until pain becomes unbearable, until movement is restricted, until daily tasks require effort that once felt effortless. But the path to recovery does not begin at the edge of collapse. It begins with awareness, the moment you recognize that something is changing, something is weakening, and that you still have the power to reverse it. Mindful action means not just moving for the sake of movement, but choosing exercises, foods, and routines that serve a specific purpose. It means approaching the body with respect, with patience, and with a deep intention to support its natural ability to heal. Leg strength is about more than muscles. It is about the integrity of the entire system: muscles, bones, joints, nerves, blood vessels, and the mind-body connection. All of these components must be working in harmony for true strength to return. When the body begins to weaken, it is often not because one part has failed, but because the communication between parts has been disrupted. Muscles may atrophy not just from disuse, but from a lack of nutrients or poor blood flow. Joints may stiffen not only from age, but from inflammation that has gone unnoticed. The nervous system may fail to activate certain muscles, not because of damage, but because it has been dulled by inactivity and imbalance. Regaining strength, therefore, is not just a physical task, it is a holistic one. One of the most important principles in this process is the power of consistency. A single effort made once will rarely produce lasting change, but repeated action, carried out with precision and intention, begins to reshape the body's internal landscape. Blood flow improves as movement becomes regular. Muscle memory is reawakened through low-resistance training. Nutrients are absorbed more effectively when paired with the right timing and food combinations. Even breathing, when practiced consciously, begins to oxygenate tissues more efficiently. These small, mindful adjustments accumulate, and the body takes notice. It begins to trust the process, to invest energy into recovery rather than merely survival. Another essential component is the removal of barriers, both internal and external. Internally, this may mean clearing out the buildup of inflammation through diet, hydration, and rest. Externally, it may mean removing mental habits of doubt, fear, or impatience that prevent progress. The journey to strength is not linear, and setbacks are part of the process. But those who act mindfully respond to setbacks not with frustration, but with curiosity. They ask, "What is the body trying to tell me? What adjustment can I make? What support is missing?" This ongoing dialogue between self and body becomes the foundation for true resilience. In traditions where the body is viewed as sacred, action is never rushed. A movement is only initiated when it is rooted in understanding. A breath is only drawn deeply when it serves purpose. This approach is not slow, it is deliberate, and it is this deliberateness that allows change to happen faster than most people expect. Because when every step is aligned with purpose, the results compound, recovery accelerates, muscles respond, balance improves. The body, once weakened by neglect or stress, begins to strengthen again, not through pressure, but through presence. There is also a spiritual dimension to regaining physical strength. When the legs are strong, we stand taller, move freer, and engage with life more fully. Weakness in the legs is not just a physical limitation. It becomes a metaphor for hesitation, for doubt, for disconnection. As the legs grow stronger, confidence returns, the ground feels more stable, the world feels more navigable, and with each step we are reminded that our choices are shaping our future. That strength is not inherited, it is cultivated, and that even the smallest effort made with care and clarity can lead to transformation far greater than we imagined. This is not a miracle. This is the body doing what it has always known how to do: heal, adapt, regenerate, when given the right environment. The miracle is not in the outcome, but in the decision to begin again with intention, to choose awareness over autopilot, to replace delay with discipline, to act not out of desperation, but out of a deep understanding that strength is something we build, reclaim, and embody through mindful action each and every day. Strength is not lost in a moment. It fades in silence, in the unnoticed decisions, in the days we ignore what our body is trying to tell us. But the return of strength, the rebuilding of power, begins just as quietly, with one choice, one moment of awareness, one act of intention. Through mindful attention to what we eat, how we move, and how we listen, we begin to reverse the cycle. The body does not need miracles, it needs cooperation. It needs the right signal, the right fuel, and the right mindset. When we treat food as medicine, weakness as a message, and recovery as a process rooted in purpose, we tap into the incredible potential that has always been there. You are not broken, you are not too late, strength is still within you, waiting to be awakened, rebuilt, and lived through your actions.